Okay, good morning. Carmen, Valeria Aca López and Areli Esmeralda Pérez Xahuentitla are presenting traditional dictation to promote the listening skill development to university English learners. They did this investigation in order to write their BA thesis.
Okay, good morning. First of all, our first point is the dictation background. The first point is dictation to improve their listening skill. We have authors from 2018 until 2019. The second point is dictation as a tool to improve the language proficiency. Authors such as Casasoglu and Dewi and Pulungan in 2002 have done research on dictation in improving the 4 main language skills.
Then dictation in the classrooms, researchers such as Jerusa Toto, Cookie Lewis T, Rosalina studied the effectiveness of dictation in the classroom. Moreover, Tang and Chiang in different years study the use of dictation in teaching vocabulary. Finally, Ben Mosfeta in 2019 studied dictation as a testing device.
The main problem that lead this research is that students face problems at recognizing listening activities at English language teaching classrooms. As a consequence, they are not able to identify the context in videos or any activities from their classes. This may affect their academic journey as ELT students.
Okay. As a tool to improve the listening skill was born since the researchers faced problems in recognizing some listening activities from the course along with all the languages. According to Noonan in 2002, most of the English learners focus on the output skills instead of the input skills. So this affects to because they're unable to skills which are listening and reading.
The objective of this research is to measure the effectiveness of dictation technique practices in the improvement of listening skills through the use of recordings in target language for class students at English language teaching in the Faculty of Languages.
The hypothesis traditional dictation is effective in improving the listening skills of university students from target language 4 at English language teaching major.
In the present studies we have in 2004 in Japan with Yonesaki, he applied a traditional dictation treatment to an experimental group, having in comparison with a control group. At the end of the treatment, the experimental group obtained higher results and at the end of the treatment. In the same year in Indonesia with Richa, Susilawati, and Bunau, they applied a minimal press sound dictation, and the results comparing the pre-test and post-test have shown the difference in the effectiveness of this technique in students' listening skill.
Moving to 2018, in Ecuador, the researchers Quiroz, Ledesma, and Campos study the effectiveness of dictation by using dictation in note-taking and dictogloss. There were 15 college students participants, and the results show an improvement in students' listening skill. Also, in Indonesia in the same year, Justani and Julia, as well as in 2019 by Malika, in both studies, the researchers made use running dictation to students improve their listening skill. The results of both studies show an improvement in students' listening skill. And finally, in Lithuania in 2019 is a research made by Kavaluskiene and Darwin Chene where they use 37 participants and they were divided into groups, a control and experimental group. The type of dictation they used were traditional dictation, and at the end of the study, the results show an improvement in students' listening skill.
Moving into the literature point, as our main skill is the listening, we have for definition that listening is the activity of paying attention from what is heard. And in this form and following the language learning process, we have that Wutipung mentions that listening is the initial stage of language learning because it's the same way as children learn their mother tongue. They should receive a significant amount of input in order to develop the output skills, such as speaking. Moving into the classroom, there are different listening activities. These two are excellent opportunities for students to listen to other speakers rather than just only the teacher. The intensive listening activities involve those ones who require students to understand every word and every sentence. To achieve this, they can listen to a text several times, or the text may be divided into different paragraphs. Another strategy is dictating word by word. In this form, students are building their basic listening skills. The other listening activities are the extensive ones, where students practice listening for pleasure, and to this they can use TV shows or radio programs or any videos. In both cases, the chosen materials should contain natural language and which students may face in real contexts.
So Montalbán, cited in Cavalusciene and Darwiniana, mentioned that dictation helps to develop English language learning in an integrative way because the four main skills are used to get a dictation paper. Also, there are many types of dictation, such as dictocom, dictogloss, and the one that we use in this study was traditional dictation. This type of dictation was used since, according to Stansfield, since the middle, and we decided to use traditional dictation as it's considered an old technique. We wanted to use it technological to bring it back to the current classrooms.
The methodology followed in this research as the objective is to measure the improvement of students' listening skills through the analysis of the pre-test, post-test results, and also the dictation scripts. The methodology chosen is a quantitative descriptive. That is to measure data by using procedures and statistical analysis to know what is happening to a determined amount of people in a specific environment. And all of this through the usage of graphics and statistics to determine if the hypothesis is true or false. And during all the process, examining the situation. The sample of this research were 29 students from target language 4 at English language teaching major. From this group, 17 were female and 12 were males. And according to their academical program and their textbook, they had a B1 plus level of proficiency.
So the methodology was the following. First of all, a pre-test was applied in the Centro de Autoacceso of the Faculty of Language. The test is called the Long-Run Preparation Course for the paper test TOEFL. Then 16 dictation audios were applied, all of them retrieved from the web page, Listen and Write, and the dictation audios were selected according to students' language proficiency, which was B1 plus at that moment. Then a post-test was applied. It was the same as test. And finally, the researchers grade the dictation papers following the scoring procedure suggested by Asfarahat and Sadeghi in 2014, which consists in 4 main points. The first one is that each word written correctly gives a point. The second one is that spelling mistakes will have a value as long as they have seemed to be heard correctly. For example, the word phone, if they word phone without the E, it will be considered as correct. Then grammatical mistakes gives no point. For example, can instead of can't. And the last one is that if the handwriting is illegible or hard to read, it gives no point.
The following chart shows a range of percentage to classify students according to the level of achievement. We have from insufficient to excellent. And this was obtained based on the students' correct words divided by the original text words. It gives us the total percentage of it. For example, a student who obtained 103 correct words out of 157 words from the original text, dividing these two quantities, we have 66%, which places the student into the regular range of achievement.
The pre-test and post-test grading criteria was the following. As these pre-test and post-tests were applied in the Centro de Autoacceso, once the students were done with their test, the system throw automatically a result. So for example, if a student got a result of 478, this student were placed in the A2 level and so on.
By showing the results of pre-test and post-test, it's important to mention that students who obtain lower results than 437 points were placed under the A1 minus level. As you can observe from the pre-test and post-test, showing the post-test results, students who were under A1 minus level were lower than in the case of pre-test, showing an improvement in the results. In case of A1 and A2 level, there was an increase in number of students in the post-test as well. And in B2 levels, there was no change. In terms of mean and standard deviation, you can observe a slight difference between the pre-test and post-test at the end of the treatment.
Okay, so the descriptive statistics of dictation can be observed in this first graphic. There are four main colors. The blue one means insufficient, the orange one means regular, the gray one means good, and the yellow one means excellent. As it can be observed from dictation 1 to dictation 16 from the blue line, it's observed like a small decrease. So the number of insufficient students decrease, and if we observe the yellow line from dictation 9 to dictation 16, the number of students with excellent results increase. Also, in the following chart, the mean and standard deviation of dictation 1, 8, 9, and 16 is shown. And as it's observed, there was a slight improvement from dictation 1 to dictation 16.
In the next line graphic, it's observed the mean from the pre-test, the whole dictation treatment, and then at the end, the post-test. It can be observed how it's falling in a rising line all along the treatment. And from the beginning until the end, you can observe an increasing line showing the actual improvement of students' listening skill.
Okay, so in the following graphic, you can observe that from pre-test to post-test, there was a slight decrease in terms of standard deviation. Also, the results discussion, there are two main questions. The first one is, how does dictation help students from target language 4 at ELT to improve their listening skills? So the first point is that students were involved in a native English speaking environment, which is beneficial for them as they are studying to become English teachers. Also, their language proficiency level rise, this was similarly as a study made in 2019 by Cavaluschini and Darwin Chene, where students increase their language proficiency. Also, there was a slight difference in the listening ability performance. As it was mentioned before, there was a slight improvement in students' listening ability. And finally, students acquire more vocabulary. They were involved with more grammatical structures and fluency.
The second research question is, how effective is the traditional dictation technique in students from target language 4 at English language teaching to improve their listening skills? First of all, there was not a statistically significant results based on the mean gain score and the p-value. For example, in the results from pre-test and post-test, the mean gain score was 0.14. In case of dictations, the mean gain score as well was 0.83. In case of the t-test results, as you can observe, in order to be statistically significant, the p-value must be less than 0.05. In the present study, we obtain a p-value of 0.2, which is a higher number. So in comparing the present study with some other studies that have done research in similar contexts, we have lower results. We obtain lower results despite the similarities in contexts, as you can observe in the present chart.
To conclude, there was a slight improvement in participants' listening skill, but not statistically significant. However, there is not enough evidence to reject the hypothesis, as the hypothesis says that dictation helps students to improve their listening skill, and as there was a slight improvement, there is not enough evidence to reject our hypothesis. And also there are some questions that we recommend for further research. The first one is, how does dictation can help university English learners to improve their simple past tense recognition, especially with regular verbs? And the second one is, how effective is full dictation in word recognition problems of university English learners?
We would like to thank to all of the participants and the people present here in our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.